Good afternoon and welcome to Locked On NBA Daily. On today's show, Cooper Flagg has his work cut out for him to help keep the Mavs in the playoff picture until Kyrie Irving returns. Can he do it? Meanwhile, the Magic hope they've done enough to construct a championship caliber roster. Plus, we get our first look at new look Zion Williamson.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On NBA. Thanks for keeping us your first listen every day and tuning in however you tune in, whether it's on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. I'm Wes Goldberg, and today we're talking about whether the Magic have done enough to truly be contenders in the Eastern Conference, and we're talking about our first look at this reshaped Pelicans roster. We're doing it with the help of Locked On's local experts, and I have two of the best with me as always from the Locked On Nuggets podcast. He's also the senior NBA writer for the Action Network, Matt Moore. Matt?
Got to watch a little Pelicans preseason this morning versus Melbourne United. Very much enjoyed Dash Daniels down there, actually, and also very much enjoyed the Australian announcers. So good job by them. I enjoyed those guys this morning.
Haize, Bulls Bears creator for Bleacher Report, host of Locked On Bulls. Were you also in on the Australian accent?
Yeah, absolutely. Love Australian accents, actually, and I've been inundated with them since the Bulls got Josh Giddey. So there you go.
You're a pro. You're a pro. We're continuing our season preview series. We're going team by team today. We're talking about the Dallas Mavericks, who have rebuilt their roster on the fly since trading Luka Doncic, and a big part of that was getting lucky in the lottery and getting the chance to draft Cooper Flagg #1 overall. Now they're going to be looking to Cooper Flagg to become the franchise player sooner rather than later, so that they can compete while they still have Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving. Here's Isaac Harris from Locked On Mavs with more.
This is Isaac Harris of Locked On Mavs answering the question, what is the biggest question around the Dallas Mavericks this season? Now, give me a break. I don't want to answer and say Anthony Davis's health. How healthy will AD be? That will probably be the biggest question for the Mavs. But I want to go with something with Cooper Flagg. And I think the question is, how good will Cooper Flagg be in year one? He's a generational type of prospect. He's a two-way guy. He's going to play a ton of defense. He's going to be good on offense. He is super hyped up. But just how good will he be in year one? Mavs fans are used to a Luka Doncic over the past 7 seasons. Will the comparison be fair with Mavs fans and all that stuff? I think it's going to look so much different than what Luka is, but it's going to be just as exciting as what Luka was. So that's the biggest question. How good will Cooper Flagg be in year one?
Guys, we've seen rookies have huge impacts right away. Luka Doncic was one of them, ironically enough. Victor Wembanyama, LeBron James, even Anthony Davis as a rookie in New Orleans. But Matt, can Cooper Flagg be one of those guys and help keep the Mavericks in the playoff picture here?
I love this question because, when he came into Team USA camp and gave them the business, I just couldn't have been more hyped, right? Like, it's like this, that's how good this guy is. However, I just hate his spot for him. I think part of this is always about opportunity. What's the situation that you're put in? And I hate this. I hate the situation and opportunity for Cooper Flagg. And like Mavericks fans think it's like, oh, you just hate the Mavericks. It's because you're asking him to do both too much and not enough. He doesn't get to just like have free reign and make mistakes and learn through what he's going to be going through. He has to play in a way that complements veterans trying to win now, but he's also going to be good enough to make up for their roster weaknesses. And I hate that situation for a kid like that. So I think Cooper can have a phenomenal rookie season, but when you look at stuff like, do you win in the minutes that a rookie plays? It's rare that happens. It can, but it's rare. So I am a little cautious about what the season is going to be like for Cooper Flagg, because I think he was drafted not into the worst situation. There are worse situations, but he wasn't drafted into a good one either.
I'm of the opposite mindset of Matt. Not that I don't understand where you're coming from for sure, but I think being able to develop, no matter how good you are or not good as a rookie, and the sky's the limit for Cooper Flagg, being able to develop within structure, within the actual of how a team needs to operate to win basketball, is actually good. And I think a player like Cooper Flagg, who is as adaptable as what he is and has the talent that he has, it's good that he's going to a situation where he's not just going to be able to jack up a lot of shots and just do whatever he wants, because I think like with the role that Cooper Flagg is going to play, hopefully he's better than anybody on this roster when it's all said and done. Like, of course, that's what they hope, but being able to come into a situation where your team is actually going to be solid. Like, I don't know how great they're going to be in the Western Conference, but they're not nearly one of the worst teams either, and they could legitimately compete for a play-in spot or something like that this season. Like, I think being able to develop within structure, within having to understand how to play off other guys and all those type of things, to have to do that early, I actually think that's good for Cooper. We've seen talented players, hugely talented players, go to a situation where they just can do whatever they want right away. And then they have to learn to play with guys. They have to learn, like, for example, one of the guys that you've talked about, Matt, that you like, Zach LaVine. One of the things that hurt Zach LaVine is that he was on the Bulls with nobody for most of his career. When he finally did get a solid roster, he looked really good. But there was a period that he had to go through of adapting to realize, okay, where do I pick my spots? Cooper's going to be able to pick his spots early and have to learn that very early. And I think that that's going to help him further down the road when the team is built just around him going forward.
Yeah, I mean, look, whenever I think of teams with structure, I think teams with D'Angelo Russell at point guard. So I hear what you're saying.
Speaking of point guard guys, Kyrie Irving, that's the big guy that they're missing, right? Had Kyrie been healthy to start the season, I think we're looking at this Mavericks team very differently, because they'd have that obvious guy who can play the point guard position, put pressure on the rim, and get guys involved. But obviously, he's not there. Now, people expect him to eventually play this season. Still TBD on whether that happens. You've already heard the Mavericks sort of downplaying maybe Kyrie being ahead of schedule here. But still, that is a big part of the Mavs season. So we asked Isaac Harris where the Mavericks will be in the standings by the time Kyrie Irving gets back.
Isaac Harris, Locked On Mavs, answering the question, the Mavs will be blank when Kyrie Irving comes back. I think the Mavs will be in the play-in range, that group of teams. So like 8th or 9th. Let me just say, I'll say the 8th spot. When Kyrie Irving returns, I think the Mavs will be in the 8th spot. And I think Kyrie's going to return sometime at the end of February, 1st of March range. This has been my guess all along. Everything I've heard has been great as far as his recovery and rehab and all of that. And I'm a believer that I think D'Angelo Russell is going to be enough of a stopgap option while Kyrie is out. I think he's going to play some of the most efficient basketball of his career here in Dallas. He has the connections. He's played with a bunch of these guys before, and I think it's a good situation for him. So take that, Matt Moore.
Not sure why the random call it. Is it D'Angelo Russell? Is it the fact that he's way too optimistic about the Mavericks, Matt?
Oh, I just incorrectly thinks that I hate the Mavericks and everything about them because I correctly said that Luka Doncic didn't deserve to win the 2023 MVP. Oh, and that finals run was a complete fluke, which it was. I don't know where they're getting this, man. Kyrie himself was like, Tampa next. What about him in the history of his career and the timing of that injury makes you think he's coming back? What about? I have no idea why Mavericks fans are holding on to this idea that he's going to come back this season. He'll sit out this season and come back next year. It gives him the best opportunity to not get hurt again and to maximize his future earnings. That's what he's going to do. He's not going to come back early. That is, and I do not think he needs to come back early. I do not think that a player should. I also think when you suffer an injury like an Achilles, you should be as cautious as humanly possible, given the long-term impacts that can have on your career. One, you should stall so that you can make more money. And two, like, you need to be as cautious as possible. But come on, guys. You think Kyrie Irving's going to be like busting to get it back? Man wouldn't get his vaccination to make sure he was still playing. Not going to happen. Kyrie's out this year. No.
I'm not going to count out Kyrie coming back because, I mean, at some point, maybe the Mavs is like, please save us from D'Angelo Russell. We need you to come back. Please. Thank God. Who knows what's going to happen? I won't say count him completely out. We've seen crazier things happen in the NBA. Sometimes, much like I said with Jason Tatum, maybe you want to come back towards the end of the season to help yourself knock off some rust before going into the offseason to just help you get over some things at the beginning of next season. But I think ultimately what the Mavs are is like, yes, D'Angelo Russell's there. He's not the best to play point guard, but it's not like you're dependent upon just D'Angelo Russell. You hope that you're going to have some other ball handlers step up and things like that. So we'll see what happens there. But Mavs fans have to hold out for hope. Listen, They traded Luka and got Cooper. Like that, right as of right now, they're caught up in a world. We just had Nick on the other day. They're caught up in a world of optimism there, Matt.
I will say I kind of like some of the stuff that Jaden Hardy did last year. Like I kind of liked some of the stuff that he did. Dante Exum can bring the ball up, right? I just have real concerns about this roster. I am also not penciling them in for a top 5 defense. They can be. They absolutely can be. They did it 2 years ago. They looked awesome in that 20 minutes AD played that one time. But I'm just not like, I am not like, oh yeah, they're definitely going to be a top 5 defense. You're going to have to show me, because there were systemic. Part of my belief is that even when you miss key impact players, your defensive system will still hold up. And it didn't that back half of the season. They really slid. So I have some real skepticism about both sides of the ball for the Dallas Mavericks.
We're going to move on to the Orlando Magic, where their biggest concern is on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, they add Desmond Bane. Now they're talking about potentially competing in the Eastern Conference. Was it enough? Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Monarch Money. Look, most people can't name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's a 401k, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization on all of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Maximize your investments, get on a schedule, and organize your finances so you can better plan for your future. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com. Just use the code LOCKEDONNBA. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. The best way to support the show is to like and subscribe on YouTube. The Orlando Magic made one of the biggest moves of the offseason when they traded for Desmond Bane, but is that enough to turn them into contenders? We asked Locked On Magic.
This is Philip Rossman-Wright, the host of Locked On Magic, and the biggest question facing the Orlando Magic this season is, are they ready to win? And by win, I mean win big. Win a playoff series, win home court advantage, get to the Eastern Conference Finals, because that is the path the Magic want to take. Of course it's the path the Magic want to take, but they have put their money where their mouth is. It always goes back to the salary cap in the NBA these days, but the Orlando Magic have given a max contract to Paolo Banchero. They've given a max contract to Franz Wagner that kicks in this season. They've given a massive extension to Jalen Suggs. Desmond Bane, who they acquired this offseason, in an all-in move to get this team over the hump, into the second round, into the conference finals, has 4 more years left on his deal. This is the team the Magic are planning to compete with, and they're going to pay very heavily for it. They're a tax team for the first time since 2012 this season, and they're likely to be a second apron team in 2027. That means they need to be in it to win a championship. While it takes time to learn how to win at the highest levels, and this season's very much about learning, the Orlando Magic want to be in that group, and this season they need to prove that they're ready to win and win big.
Haize, I think the way that Philip put it there in terms of, hey, this is kind of it. This is the team. We've spent the money. We've done all, we've used the resources. This is the team. Whether it's this season, next season, maybe a couple seasons from now, this team is going to be expensive. Do you think it's good enough to compete in the East?
I mean, to compete in the East, yes. To win the East, I don't know quite yet. I mean, it's determined by how much better is their offense, because that shooting is still the thing that hurts them the most, and how much Franz and Paolo over this time really step up and continue to work on their game and to grow as players. So they could be. I think there's a path to where they could be, but they have to be very smart in what future acquisitions that they do make with that second tax apron looming. And they have to hope that players step up and grow. In this Desmond Bane acquisition, they better hope that this works out. I have faith that it will. I think Bane is perfect for what they need on the team, but it's not going to be just Bane, and he fixes your shooting alone. They're going to need other players to get better as shooters as well.
Yeah, I think it's a great point by Haize, that it can't just be like, oh, they got Desmond Bane. Cool. That Desmond Bane does not an offense make. Franz Wagner needs to hit a 3-pointer at some point in his life. Like, that needs to occur more regularly than it has in previous seasons. Paolo Banchero is going to have to actually knock down some shots because he's taken a lot of shots, but the efficiency hasn't been there. He's going to tighten up that efficiency. Like, he can get buckets, but he's going to have to do it in a more efficient way. And then you're going to need guys like Anthony Black or Tyus Jones or other players to contribute and be able to give them a little bit of a lift and make sure that they're getting enough threes so they're not in a deficit either if they want to be like a top team in the Eastern Conference. Like, if they want to get past the Knicks, which I think they can, you can terrorize them with your defense, but you're going to have to be able to follow it up by winning the math game. And that's going to be harder with Mike Brown. So, the 3-point rate, I think, is going to be something. But I will also say this. The beginning of last year, they showed real signs of being able to produce the kind of possessions that had me like wanting to buy in. And then they started getting hurt and they went back to some of the more familiar stuff. It's simple mechanisms, just like how often are you reversing the ball? Can you get to the weak side effectively? I think if those things are better this year with God Shamgod as their assistant coach on offense, I think the Magic can, in fact, win the Eastern Conference.
Okay. You guys are talking about the offense. That's exactly right, right? They were second in defensive rating last year. The offense was terrible. It's always been terrible. It feels like it's going to continue to be terrible unless they change things, to Matt's point here. We asked Philip about that. Like, what else do you got to do other than just simply adding Desmond Bane to the mix?
This is Philip Rossman-Wright, the host of Locked On Magic, and the path for the Orlando Magic to finally enter the group of contenders in the Eastern Conference and really in the NBA at large has to do with their offense. It always comes back to the offense. The Orlando Magic have been a bottom 10 offense in the league every year since Dwight Howard left in 2012. This is a team that has struggled to score. Last year had the 27th ranked offense in the league, as well as the worst three-point field goal percentage in the last decade of the NBA. So quite simply, for the Orlando Magic to achieve their goals, to reach the second round of the playoffs, they need to score points. And to do that, they're going to have to make shots. They're going to have to do something different to get there. They hired Joe Prunty from the Milwaukee Bucks to be an assistant coach and help them reinvigorate their offense. They obviously acquired Desmond Bane, Tyus Jones, maybe even Jace Richardson. They're going to get Jalen Suggs back healthy. Another year of Paolo and Franz developing. But all of it still has to come together for the Magic to make shots, to be creative with how they get shots, to get out and run in transition more. The Magic need to focus on their offense and, frankly, turn their defense into offense more consistently. The Magic are one of the worst teams in the league at scoring in transition. They play a slow pace anyway, but when they get out on the break, when they play fast, they have to be able to score. That's the Magic's ticket to achieving their goals and finally ending this terrible streak of bad offense in Orlando.
So, Haize, last year, OKC turned opponents over on 16.9% of their possessions. We talked about how amazing that Thunder defense was. They just always stole the ball from you. The Magic did it on 16.8% of their opponents' possessions. Wow. It's right there. They were sixth in the league in points off of turnovers. Now, to Philip's point, yeah, maybe they could be a little bit more efficient in those opportunities, but when Philip points to the transition part of this, it kind of feels like the Magic were already pretty good there. But I don't know if you're looking at that or something else in terms of where they could boost their offense.
I mean, transition helps. I think that they just have to actually like be connected as a team offensively. Like, it's still the your turn, my turn thing with Paolo and Franz sometimes, and I get it. Those are your offensive engines. Jalen Suggs, when he is in there as well, is a little bit of that. Like, I think they just need a connector on offense, and they haven't had that. And whether that's somebody that's already on the roster that steps up, whether Desmond Bane can help with that or whatever else. But, to hear that they've been bottom in offense that long, that's a crazy stat. I did not realize it had been that long since Dwight left. That's crazy.
Yeah, Philip talks about that a lot. He talks about that streak a lot. If you look back and you kind of look at like what were they good at last year, like there's nothing. They were good cuts. That's what they were good at. They were good off the cut. Spot up 7th percentile. Pick and roll ball handler 13th percentile. Pick and roll man, so just like lob 7th percentile. Transition 23rd percentile. ISO 23rd percentile. There was nothing good about the Orlando Magic offense last year. And when you have that kind of collective failure, that oftentimes means that like your spacing is bad, your off-ball movement is bad. And that to me is like, there has to be, I'm not smart enough to know what this is, but it's either they need more structure or they need more random basketball, because players talk a lot about that, the value of random basketball and how that can generate stuff for you. But with as long as these guys have played together, that stuff should be easier. Like if you wanted the biggest kind of that thing to hold you back from optimism, that's probably it. This team isn't like constantly turning over guys. They have had the same guys the last 3 seasons, and they haven't been able to figure this out. So until they show, and the injuries were obviously part of that last year with the big guys, but until they kind of show an offensive flow that's better, that the process is better, that the execution is better, and that the continuity is better, then in terms of the chemistry that they're able to create, the synergy is missing. Now, to use a very annoying corporate word, they got to get to those kind of mechanisms if they're going to have a better offense. It can't just be, well, you just got to shoot better. That's not the answer in the NBA.
That said, they do kind of have to shoot better. They can't be where they were shooting 3-point wise last year, like Philip said, worse than 10 years.
But my point is, you shoot that way because the process is bad.
Fair enough.
It's not, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is not a bad shooter. That he was the canary in the coal mine for me. If KCP can't shoot for you, you need Jesus.
If Desmond Bane has a bad shooting year with the Orlando Magic, we just got to start realizing there may be something in the water in Orlando that just ruins shooting, and that may be the thing.
As somebody who lived in Orlando for 4 years during college, I can assure you there is something in the water. I don't have any idea if it had anything to do with shooting, but it does. We actually have NBA games, kind of. There was one NBA team playing a non-NBA team. It was a preseason game, but it's basketball. We're going to talk about it. We got our first look at in-shape Zion Williamson in this morning's preseason game, and the host of Locked On Pelicans says that the rest of the NBA should be worried. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here. The NBA season is almost here, and FanDuel has an offer that you're not going to want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and you're going to get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you're going to unlock $300 in bonus bets that you can use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me a ton of ways to play. I've built parlays, I've tried player props, I've even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little bit something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much more exciting. So, what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Welcome back to Locked On NBA. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. The Locked On Podcast Network has a show for every team. So if you want more of a deep dive on the teams that we talked about today, you can go check out the show, Locked On Mavericks. You can go check out Locked On Magic for more on those teams. But we are talking about preseason action. The Pelicans played the first ever preseason game in Australia. It was one of our first looks at Zion Williamson since his body transformation that he showed off at Media Day, guys. We also got a look at Jordan Poole. We saw Jeremiah Fears play a little bit. But the story was, of course, Zion, who Locked On Pelicans host Jake Madison said looked noticeably different.
Good. More than the counting stats that I just referenced there are two things that really jump out to me from this game by Zion Williamson. One is physically, he just looked quicker. There was a little bit more explosiveness to the way that he played. Just everything was slightly faster. The movements were a little bit more lightning, explosive, quick, and that's what you wanted to see from him. Did this new look physique translate to the production on the court in terms of things being a little bit better? And if you're finally getting like the NBA version of Zion Williamson, the league better look out because he's going to be a problem. He was quick off the dribble, getting downhill, attacking. Those fast twitch movements, your initial move to try and blow past your defender, worked. He's not playing against NBA players, but the fact is, it looked pretty good in this game.
Matt, what'd you think of how he looked?
Different. Like he looked way different, and not just like he physically looked different. It's that I'm used to Zion going in the air, putting that shoulder through a guy, knocking him into the third row, and then finishing the little finger roll. And instead, like he's looping around them. And what's interesting is he's got the touch to be that type of a player, to be a little bit more of a forward. Like he looked so much more like a forward than a big to me in this game. And like, that's an interesting question is the future of Zion Williamson maybe not him as this big that just like muscles through you and gets fouls and is such a physical imposing force. He wasn't really knocking through guys' chests. It was finishing tough layups. It was the speed and quickness that Jake talked about there. And it looked so effortless for him. There wasn't that kind of grimace that I usually get when I'm watching Zion and he lands with that kind of force. It looked very easy for him to get those floaters up, to get those finishes, and then like zoom down the court. He was gliding, which is not something I'm used to with Zion because he's usually hammering down the court or through guys. So it's just a kind of an interesting dynamic to see this difference with him.
It's fluidity. I mean, he looked lighter out there. But you know, the strength looked pretty much the same. The power still looked like it was there, even though, you know, very small sample size. But it looked like the weight that was off Zion has helped him to just move more fluidly, and that is dangerous, because one thing about Zion is that he has done most of it through just overpowering other players. And not to say that isn't a skill that can be built off on, but like if this is real, it's just preseason right now, so take it with a grain of salt. But if this is real, this is exactly what the Pelicans need to see and should want to see from Zion Williamson. We just got to see if he's going to be able to, you know, keep it up in the regular season, keep the weight off. But Zion just looked a lot more fluid out there. He looked, and the game still looked just as easy as it always has to him. He looked good. He looked great, to be honest with you.
And the big thing too is if this weight loss is real and it holds, he should hopefully be healthier and stay healthy and stay on the court that much more. By the way, the power was there. He scored over 3 guys at one point in this game. If he's getting to his spots quicker and then still playing with that strength, that's a big deal for Zion.
And he drew 7 fouls. He got to the line for 7 free throws. So like when I say that he looked different to me, and he did score through those guys because of the explosiveness that he brought to the table. But to me, it does look like a little bit of a different player.
It's Friday, which means we're going to end the show with our favorite things of the week. Haize, what do you got?
Basketball. Basketball's back. I've been talking about this for so long. Like, that's my favorite thing of the week. We got to watch actual NBA basketball, and now we're going to have it from here until an NBA champion is crowned, a few months from now. So we got basketball back. That's my favorite thing of the week.
Matt?
One, Trey Murphy going for 18 in this game this morning was actually like, I love seeing like everyone's talking Zion, and Trey Murphy was awesome in all phases this morning. My other thing was I was out in San Diego for Nuggets training camp, and yesterday they had a full scrimmage with NBA referees. Yeah, Jokic spent 25 minutes after working the officials, asking them questions about various things to try and figure out exactly how things are or should be called. So Nikola Jokic's constant pursuit of what he feels is the officiating that should be going on was my favorite thing of the week.
Something to watch, I guess, this season, right? My favorite thing of the week, Klay Thompson was asked about his advice to young players and to rookies by a reporter in Dallas, and I loved his answer.
Who, Cooper? Yeah. All the rookies. I tell them, be loud, communicate, play with great effort, have a great attitude. You're going to miss shots, you're going to make shots, you're going to make mistakes. But if you do those 2 things I talked about, you're going to fulfill your potential. And that's what being a pro is. It's not about being a 10-time NBA All-Star. Maybe for Cooper it is, but because we have that expectation. But if you just give your best every day, that's all we ask. It's an easy job.
Klay's the best.
Easy job.
I don't like the fact that you're the host and producer and you get a video clip of your favorite thing.
Y'all send me videos. I'll put them up in here. That's
no,
fine.
no, I don't want to hear. We didn't even know that was an option, Wes. No,
all we do is play videos. All you guys are professionals. You guys know it. It's about trusting the process. That's going to do it for us this week. If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Thank you to Matt and Haize for their expertise every day. Thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen. We're going to see you right back here next week on Locked On NBA. We're going to be talking about some basketball games, people.